It's 7:00, and our pothead friend has not joined us yet. And I just hit the red button.
He's not joined us yet to be the star guest on our show about pot.
Oh, man.
Let's go back to bed. But in order for me to be this awake, and you, I'm sure I'm on like my fourth cup of coffee.
Shit. Well, we could do a short one, or we could reschedule. It's up to you.
Oh, no, we can figure out something to talk about for an hour.
Yeah, that we can. What's funny is that that's going to be on our recording, and people are going to go, reschedule.
Like, oh, damn it, I don't want to hear about some other weird-ass tangent.
What? We never talk tangents.
Dude, that's all I talk about.
Jack talked tangent real well.
Yeah, right. Oh, Jack talked tangent.
Something about Kosovo or wherever they were going.
Oh, shit. Damn it, I'm forgetting that now.
I got a text message that says 8 a.m. You do not specify which 8 a.m.
Dude, there is a list. Okay, so maybe so there's a list going around the station. So our rookies are in their early 20s.
If I would have known that, I would have said no, because it was not pot. It was NyQuil that put me out. Our lovely legal
that these kids
drug.
Yeah,
that's
our federally legal drug that put me out where I could
things like Full Metal Jacket. You cannot live a full life without having seen Full Metal Jacket.
It's not federally legal.
So the
thing about pot that people have to understand is even though your state laws allow it, federal agents can still
a while back. I'd watch
that. So, for example, in Oregon, we've actually had a recent incident where a federal agent ended up busting a gentleman because one of his employees was selling something black market, because the black market still exists.
I'm your husband.
So one of his employees was selling black market items, stealing from their property. What that did is it ended up making his entire business now, quote unquote, black market. So his entire business got shut down. All of his assets got seized, and he got arrested. CGI. Even though he still presented all the necessary documents that would not allow a state police officer or a city police officer to arrest him. The federal agent just overlooks it and says it doesn't matter. It's not federally legal.
And I heard a lot of kind of, old type fans and stuff like that were kind of pissed off that the newest one,
so the original black market was selling to Joe Schmo drug dealer on the corner, who would distribute it throughout
Star Wars: A New Hope,
our suburban neighborhoods, as they would like you to believe. The new black market is,
I guess perhaps, but the thing you have to
not paying taxes
remember is it's Star Wars for a new
dispensary
generation.
owners from Colorado or
I'm not counting the prequels. So
Nevada,
the last time they made
coming
a good
up to
Star
Oregon
Wars
or going over to California and purchasing from non-licensed farms so that they can have an abundance of product. So now they can kind of maneuver it in however necessary. Oregon has a system called the metric system.
They're getting a whole new generation into Star Wars, so you kind of have to go through the whole hero's journey and stuff like that again. And maybe the first one was a retelling, but it ends kind of getting back into,
for example, when you're doing
all the old story, all the old characters, all that other stuff.
So if I'm sending a package,
this next one, it's
the
out
testing lab. 3 weeks it will allow me to screw up and send more grams than I actually have.
I think it's actually out
in
here.
my lab.
It's actually playing.
So what that means is,
oh no, I'm sorry.
I can kind of
Thursday, December 14th.
Fix the numbers.
So slap you in the mouth.
There are labs that are getting busted for that, and it's just ridiculous. So what we've done is we've made sure
that one I think is going to. That one's taking all the stuff that they kind of introduced in episode 7, all the new characters, all the new stuff like that.
They probably get annoyed with me, but every single time I've had to do a manifest, I call them. And I tell them, walk me through it.
There's going to be some dark shit in this one. I'm actually really excited about it.
If you do it wrong the first time, you're looking at potential $10,000 plus fine, plus a suspension from your license for a designated period of time, or you're looking at potentially just losing your license altogether if you continuously do it wrong.
The TV films, check this out. There's a Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, people try not to talk about that one. I think oddly enough, the rumor, anyway, that's basically been all but proven is that the entire cast was stoned out of their fucking mind making that.
Well, it was the 70s.
Oh yeah.
Wait, weren't we supposed to be talking about pot today?
Yeah, we were, but I don't know that much about it.
No, I really don't either.
I mean, I know some like nerd stuff about it, but as far as like actual,
there's no such thing as a shortcut.
Or relevance.
And the main reason why they're doing this is like kind of the word throughout the industry. I was just down at
they had a Droids animated series from 85 to 86, and Ewok animated series.
And there's a lot of bigwig folks down there, a lot of far right wing.
That's funny. The Caravan of Courage came out
high class level, like all over the place. And the general consensus is the reason why they're coming down so strong right now is because of the fact that they're trying to figure out how to roll out a lot of the patents that they
on Wikipedia.
So one thing most people don't realize is the reason why you can't call something a CBD product is because the government has patented CBD. So you have to call it, or you can't call it a hemp product. So I can't say I have this hemp tincture that will help you out.
What's really cool is
you can't do that because it's patent now, right? So you have to find different cannabinoid product, things like that.
How do you spell Shruik?
SHRY.
Shruik.
It might be okay. It's the Wookiee language, so I'm not sure how they spell it, but it's funny to look.
There's no Shruik, but I got Suwami.
And Star Wars nerds.
Exactly.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Well, all right. So, anyway, so keep going about Star Wars. I'm sorry. I digressed there. About Star Wars. I digress.
Well, in the healing qualities of the tea.
No, I like the healing qualities stuff they're coming up with. I was kind of worried really when
just about
when
every
Disney bought
freaking
Star Wars
industry you could think of.
But I think kind of one of the nice things,
it's got the abilities to assist with
Marvel,
satiability with food. You can create
they played a real kind of hands off and were just a big wallet for
the
them,
healing
which
qualities
I'm really
behind it are ridiculous.
And especially in Marvel, there were some projects that got funding that would not have gotten funding otherwise. When Marvel was just Marvel, there's no way in hell you'd see like Ant-Man and some stuff like that, the more obscure type of things. And kind of the fun thing with the Star Wars universe also,
it's ridiculous.
And you're starting to get these kind of side stories and stuff like that. Where you get,
when I first started in the industry, I thought weed was
the Han Solo movies in production.
So because it kind of dropped into my lap, it was one of those things
which
where
is really, really cool.
Hey, you should try to help us sell this. And I was like, oh, product's a product. Sure, I'll go ahead and help sell it.
Prequel thing,
at the time, it was a bit ago. At the time, I wasn't really supportive, but I wasn't really against it.
LucasArts or George Lucas or
when I started researching, I dove into it just like I did with the fitness industry back a long time ago.
What they call
I started realizing, holy crap, there's a lot more to this plant.
And a lot of these authors did some really, really cool stories.
Finding out
some of them were pretty fucking weird, but some were really, really cool.
When you combine specific strains,
they were doing backstories about guys like Boba Fett. They were doing this. There was a whole
truly helps
book about just bounty hunter stories.
Have issues with not being able to eat or have way too much of a eating issue like myself. I can go through food like nobody's business, but there's a way to be able to ingest specific products that will from the cannabis industry that will help curb your hunger. So you actually are like a normal person instead of eating still like an athlete. And I don't train like an athlete, right? So all sorts of stuff. And then there's a hemp product that I was taking in this last year of training that's really helped with my recovery.
And 4 was
even some of the actual was very, very good. They could have made that 2 movies and it would have been much, much better than
it's ridiculous
trying to cram the entire transfer
CBD products aid in joint lubrication, so allowing you as you get older to be able to still drop into squat clean extremely fast, or allowing you to get up out of your chair that for some reason way too low to the ground without screaming and
really kind of
yelling.
Describing the like deep emotional toil and shit like that.
I know, right? I draw attention to the fact that the almighty Kevin Hughes is standing up.
And maybe it was just because emo was really popular then. I'm not sure, but they did a really good job of
amazing. And then when you dive in deeper, you find out that our body has a cannabinoid receptor.
Because in the book it's really good. In the movies, it was full on emo.
So when you're consuming these products, You're actually consuming. You're matching cannabis.
There are some outtakes where he acted really, really well, and
so if our body creates
they kind of use the whiny like
drug. Last I checked, we don't create all these synthetics.
Yeah, they really.
But same as Luke Skywalker.
So it's really interesting.
In the original trilogy, especially the first movie, there's quite a few drinking games, but there's a drinking game where everyone kind of picks a certain aspect of the movie, and like every time you see a stormtrooper, you drink, or every time someone uses the Force, you drink. And one of them is every time Luke Skywalker whines, you take a drink. And if you're watching the first movie, you are fucked up.
Will you actually be surprised at the main reason why it has not reached federal funding to the larger scale? It's actually pharmaceuticals have a small role in it. The government, they have enough patents and everything to roll it out and make a lot of money.
How did you get into
Oregon,
Star
Colorado, and Nevada have proven how to make a crap ton of money.
I was born in 1981. So
not counting
kind of right when Empire was really big, and of course Star Wars was always really big. It didn't stop being big for quite a while.
They literally sold. What's that?
And growing up with it, it was just, it's an amazing story. I'm kind of a nerd. I'm a sci-fi kid. I get that from my parents, especially my mom. She was a big Trekkie. So
yeah. And they're like, hey,
she
by the way,
still
Colorado
is.
folks, you guys are going to be getting some extra money in the mail.
I know a lot of the Trek universe also. I just like the Star Wars.
We're going to give you extra because the cannabis industry is just
really weird-ass reasons. But no, it was just it was always a really fun movie to kind of sit down and watch. There wasn't a whole lot else at the time that was kind of like that. There was a lot of cartoons and stuff, but this was the only one you could really watch like real people actually
and
do
like
this type of shit.
Portland Oregon is running into that similar situation, but you also have to look at those are just the taxes, and typically when you
go back
have
and
the
watch
taxes
now, and it's
probably about a 70% collection rate. So there's 30% of the industry still is not paying their taxes.
Star Wars fan.
Once they're able to actually refine the bylaw not to make it so
not really that interested in it, and trying to get her to watch it now is kind of tough because.
Look at all of the licensing and fees and permitting fees and zoning fees that you have to pay. Our lab, for example, the lab that I'm going to be directing down in California,
so it's just boring.
Our guy is out. I want to say it's almost $2.3 million. Just
which is funny because it's really pretty.
We're not even rolling yet.
Like she hasn't.
We have contracts that will definitely have his return on investment.
The trilogy
pretty damn quick.
And I may have to.
Holy crap!
Like Return of the Jedi, she's not that.
You got to
bad
really have some serious cash flow in order to be able to get started with this industry. And then a lot of folks think, you know what? I'll just go ahead and grow. I'll just buy some land and grow.
Trying to get her to watch the original.
Is it soil compatible? What strains are going to actually grow more efficiently in your general area? It's rare that literally.
I think we've tried it 3 or 4 times, and I'm just
the understanding of growing just like a farmer. You can't just say, "Hey, I'm just going to till my backyard and grow," because you probably have some really crappy weed when you get to the end of it.
Well, I think it's hard if you haven't been into it or aren't into sci-fi. I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of people for Star Wars are. It's just something that you have to be. You kind of have to be into it in order.
And California's running into that.
Well, you have to be into sci-fi, but you also have to be able to kind of give into the story and give into the entire kind of universe. Watching Star Wars as one specific movie is, at least from my perspective, is pretty fun, pretty cool because there's a lot of cool stuff in that movie. But if you really give in and kind of broaden your mind out to the entire universe, the Force and all the planets and all the other shit going on. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing universe.
There's specific banks in Oregon, California, Washington that will work with you, but they're not FDIC approved.
With the expanded universe and all that stuff, a lot of authors.
It's a little scary because all of a sudden your money can disappear and it's not assured. Like if they
really
close,
easy way to let your mind kind of wander to all these weird little different places, but you kind of want to do that. It's a really big. It's kind of
Yes.
Star Wars is just one little slice of it. Empire Strikes Back is one little slice of it. Return of the Jedi is one little slice of it. All these movies are just one little slice of this whole, epic saga type of story. It's kind of like watching Lord of the Rings. If you don't really like the entire universe, if you don't like that entire storyline, then it's kind of tough to really get a whole lot out of that one movie.
Distracted with the other,
especially with Lord of the Rings.
Probably watching your cat go attack mice.
Like me, I like the extended versions. And the extended versions, if you watch Lord of the Rings, the extended versions, and they may have one even longer, I think now, director's cut or some shit like that. But if you watch that trilogy back to back, the extended versions, it's like 12 and a half hours long. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right,
but
yes.
Getting someone who's not really a fantasy person to watch that is not going to happen. Within 20 minutes, they're like, what the fuck? They're not doing anything. And, the other person's like, what are you talking about? The Fellowship is getting together. They're bringing all the characters together. And they're like, yeah, whatever. It's boring. I want to watch something else.
Wow. All right.
Did you just get a text message?
Is that what was going on? Oh, yes. Oh, look at that. Hang on. Oh, just woke up. You son of a bitch.
Hang on.
Yeah, if you go up to Washington or
all right, we may have an additional member, so we don't have to talk about Star Wars for the whole podcast.
Yeah, pretty much since he left, I remember.
And again, I could believe me, I've done it before.
Even before Brian left, he was like, "You should move to Colorado."
And I know the question is to prompt you to get information out of you, only because we've been we've been around each other way too long.
You're right. I don't know.
I bet you people are going.
All four of our listeners,
two of which I'm not going out to Colorado.
The two of which are staring at something and their phone fell between the seats, so they can't turn us off.
Now, if you were in Oregon and you were involved in this, then we would have
they're on their car radio right now going
trying to get a California job.
I have a CD and
then you might get
even have a CD player. So. Damn it!
It's like a daily. You should see our traffic now. There used to be an actual time period where there was down traffic and you can get around town really quickly.
Yep.
Now it's like, just be prepared to be in your car for 45 minutes to travel about 5 miles. It's cool.
No, Kevin, that is an unfair misrepresentation.
Yeah, I've been down to California numerous times now, and it's nothing like that. I'm like, California traffic's nice.
And I'm sure Trey will cover that, but for right now, I'm going to give him shit about it.
Yeah, I haven't been in Los Angeles, so.
We were talking about vehicle accidents.
For the World Games when I was
could you imagine
what
a vehicle accident with pot would be like? It'd be like 5 miles per hour.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it'd be like, bump.
You're too scared to throw down with me because you knew I was going to take your fuck you socks.
Someone that got rear-ended or something would be outside the car pissed off.
Right.
Someone behind the steering wheel would just be staring through the window because they're seeing 6 miles into the future or some shit. Someone would be in the back seat just laughing their ass off at absolutely nothing. One person would be completely calm and just pissing that first driver off, trying to explain to him exactly what happened. Like, dude, it's okay. I mean, really, it's all right. What do you mean? Because really, we're all in the same car.
And rules around it.
That person would be
if you're just a general person walking down the street, or if you're a lab, or like what do you mean?
Still awesome.
The thing is, I don't get the whole bad thing about marijuana because you literally can't do anything bad on marijuana.
The things that you need to be aware of are just because your entire state says it's okay does not mean your city
enough to do it.
So there's certain cities within each state that still have a memorandum or something that states that
want to sit there and relax. It's not
consume, produce, grow even for personal use, or purchase.
I was going to hate that but then I got high.
California right now,
you
technically, if you don't have a medical card, you technically cannot buy
it. I bet you he sings that in his sleep.
They found loopholes around it where they're not buying the actual flower, they're buying the jar. And the flower is just donated as a peace offering, so to speak, for buying the jar. Each city and each state
let's switch gears here. Tell me what you do know
set
about
of rules and laws. And the cities will typically kind of piggyback off the state and make them a little bit more strict. So to know,
it's getting bigger
exactly
every day.
What those are going to be,
amazing.
I'd be lying
industry.
To you.
It's an amazing thing.
If somebody's listening, they're like, "Hey, I want to smoke." But I don't know.
Kind of realize and
I tell you to just go online, pull
stuff
up,
that a lot of people have known
California
forever,
state
and they may have
on
seen
recreational cannabis use.
Holistic,
and it'll pop up, and then you'll be able to plug in your city, and it'll give you exactly what your city's
allowed to do. But a lot of
them
have known forever that this stuff it's not just a recreational drug, and maybe a lot of them don't even use it as a recreational drug. It's more like I've got a friend here that grows it, but he doesn't even call it even marijuana or anything like that. He talks about growing medicine, and that's kind of his bent on it, is he grows medicine. And I think for a long time, and probably on purpose by different agencies and things like that, just like a lot of other things, pot was always seen as this bullshit recreational drug that would make you lazy and stupid and all these other negative effects, but is now starting to become very, very accepted and very relevant in the healthcare industry.
For example, if you really love, like for the fitness industry, if you love working out,
because cure is kind of a
your body's kind of falling apart, and you can't maintain specific intensities.
Very, very effectively
there's strains that'll help your body really relax and recover.
It's starting to be very big in
issues going to sleep. So a lot of folks really
Veterans
love
Affairs
their
because
sleep.
It's very good for depression. It's very good for
there's specific strains that will help just put you right out. I mean, there's
pain that has come from injuries.
The breed is indica, so it's like there's sativa, indica, and hybrid. So hybrid is a cross between the two. Where
really going to make you lazy and stupid and addicted to.
It's one of those things where if you're looking at trying to go to sleep, you're going to get an indica, which is nicknamed indica, because it's just going to put you on the couch and you're not getting back up. If you're needing a little bit more of a pick-me-up, so you can kind of maneuver through your day, but you don't want to be crazy nuts,
that are very expensive or very hard to get,
typically what you want to focus
or both.
Towards. If you're somebody that suffers from ADD, you need some focus, but you also don't want to be just put to sleep. A hybrid would be something you want to focus on. So a hybrid with more of a kick towards sativa. So a lot of folks do what's called wake and bakes. They actually have coffee with cannabis oil in it.
CBD and THC.
There's two kind of main components of marijuana.
Drink your coffee and have some cannabis mixed in with it. And
there's two
now you have this really mellow caffeine buzz, so that you're focused but you're not crazy.
There's the indica strain.
There's all sorts of different
sativa strain.
usages and there's topicals. So if you have joint issues, instead of taking
different strains,
pain medicines
some of them are more for
or
THC,
anti-inflammatory synthetics, you can take a CBD THC cream and rub it on your joints, and within minutes the pain and the swelling goes away, or it gets minimized dramatically.
Oil, basically.
There's edibles that will help.
The cannabinoids are. It's kind of like saying phytochemicals or antioxidants in
dietary fluids to make sure that you can actually
know exactly what all of them are.
Process your food
when
appropriately.
You apply them to people, they help shit.
This particular plant, it's kind of nicknamed the buffalo plant, because literally, whether it's the hemp plant or an actual weed plant,
either you're raising strains of marijuana more for the highest THC you can possibly get, which is more the psychoactive
plant. You can literally just tear it right out from the roots and use everything.
And then there's strains
you
that
name
are
it. There's definitely something
very,
that
very high
it can assist you
the
with.
CBD or cannabinoids.
They've also linked it to,
and a lot of people are raising these strains now,
minimizing or potentially canceling out any aspects of
the CBD oil or the CBD
Alzheimer's
parts of that.
It helps with your memory as you get older.
Very, very useful for
it helps with
a lot of medical things. It's
general cognitive skills. There's even things that there's even suppositories and items that will help with sexual performance.
I think fibromyalgia
you name
is a big
it,
one.
and it's there. And one thing
there's a lot of things
that I was alluding to, but it didn't get to, the industry that's actually really curbing.
I personally think you could treat that in other ways first, so you wouldn't need to spend a bunch of money on CBD.
There's so many people in Oregon alone. 25% less opiate users and about 20% less alcohol
conditions that modern medicine is basically shrugging at because it has no options left. CBD oil will just wipe the floor with. I think I want to say MS is another one that cannabinoid oil is very, very good with also.
With alcohol being so... Yeah, it's like with alcohol being so widespread and having like that cornerstone turning 21 and all that jazz behind it. And even if you have a 2% variance,
legalization of marijuana in a lot of different states, Washington and Colorado, of course, were the first couple real big ones. I know California just legalized it for recreational use. I think Nevada just did. Massachusetts just did. I think it's someone just...
like there's states that are having double-digit declines in consumption.
And I think a couple other places, but
there's going to be a lot of money thrown at it.
Oh wow!
Like in California, there's over $500 million from the alcohol industry, wine and beer.
And that whole thing was kind of,
they tried to make that law not happen.
Kind of a shame anyway, because you could get a doctor to give you a card.
Because they knew once they hit the floor, Californians were like, yeah, whatever. They knew that it was either going to pass by smallest margins or it was going to pass by a landslide, but it was going to pass. It was just a matter of the verbiage.
But
and surprisingly, when the law went in, it was actually weed consumers that blocked the bill until it was written appropriately.
Which again is leading to huge strides in
so they blocked the bill predominantly because of the fact that it wasn't written appropriately. So once they were able to actually amend a number of the items that kind of screwed over the weed industry,
it was off and running. But I'm
really interested to see what kind of money or what kind of tax revenue
at this point,
California brings in.
I know the edibles and
being
the
one of the
smokable
6 largest conglomerates of consumption
has taken leaps and bounds, strides in potency and stuff like that. So where people that used to smoke, back in like the 60s and 70s when they were teenagers or in their 20s or whatever, are, going to stores to get, just a fun high or whatever, the retirees and stuff, and getting just a normal joint or something and just going completely bonkers because this shit is 10 times what they remember. And I've heard a lot of people talk about edibles the same way because they're able to pack so much into the smallest little package. I know Joe Rogan has a bit in his act where he talks about he went in to buy an edible or something at the place, and they had a little
if you're in a legal state now
package of gummy bears. So he's like, "Oh, cool, gummy bears! I love gummy bears."
Literally, if you're driving a company car and a
hey man, how much of this gummy bear do I take?
Drug test you right then and there. So not only will they test your blood for alcohol level, but they're going to test your body for any kind of cannabinoids, which is ridiculous because if you are around me and I smoke,
at the same rate,
you inhale the vapors you smoke,
can grow it without
you
having
now
to
by
keep
law have ingested
in a closet in your garage
cannabis. Or if you go to a party who they happen to have
as far as CBD
good
oil and
brownies,
stuff like that, so you can get much more.
You're fucked now. You're screwed.
Medicinal benefit out of it also.
Somebody wasn't kind enough to tell you which is which. Like, those are the good brownies. Those are the regular brownies. I was going to say, I think
the whole topic.
So now your job
we were talking.
Yes,
believe it or not, we talk at the
if you're of public service, your city or state
one of our
can investigate you immediately if they have any kind of hint or idea that you might be consuming, and you can get fired immediately. You would lose any potential pension. You would lose any and everything. So you have to be careful. And actually said hemp, on the other hand, hemp is actually federally legal right now. There's rumor that it might potentially go back to stage 1, but right now it's federally legal. So if you found
she took it at the same time as the dog because
product that's
what she's giving the dog is human grade anyway.
THC, so you could actually use that.
She did it at the same time. She said she was just you'd have to make sure it's not the high aspect when you're
don't throw away the
packaging.
So just in case you do get tested or anything, and there are some potential cannabinoids that pop up because of the hemp usage, then you could say this is actually what I'm using.
And there is a huge medicinal purpose.
The difference between an industrial hemp drug test and
I think where people get confused
drug test is your cannabinoids in your blood system are going to be ridiculous.
Or am I looking for medicinal purposes?
There's a drastic difference in
things were supposed to go, but I don't know that that's where things are going.
And again, this is always my tin hat or tinfoil hat thing. I absolutely think that major players in the regulatory industries know the beneficial effects of CBD, but they're trying to downplay the whole industry by, in a lot of cases, honestly, making up shit about, the high industry, the THC industry, about all these horrible things it's going to do to you.
If you test
mostly
any
because
one of those guys,
they haven't figured
they're
out
all going to test positive.
The best way to monetize it.
And how many warehouses that had dry cannabis. Just
the pharmaceutical industry is such
There's
a huge
gentleman that
industry,
we were looking at working with that had
CBD
30,000 pounds of trim.
All sorts of
trim
things
was like stuff
way
that had
easier,
it's
way better,
the
way
unwanted weed that typically
much more
would go to a
effectively than a lot of the pills these guys are coming out with.
It still has some decent potency.
They want to do their own research, figure out a way to monetize this themselves.
So it's like
before they
got the
really start
the entire neighborhood high.
Making this an okay type of thing.
Anybody and everybody that was in that general area. is affected because of the fact that people, weed crops were literally
voters burning. And luckily congressmen in states like, Washington, Colorado, California, these other ones that have passed, recreational measures. And really that just means, anyone can grow it if it's for their own personal use. There's a market for it. It's, it's regulated and taxed, which there's good and bad to that. But it takes off that we're going to bust your fucking door down.
I was like freaking Lil Wayne, man. I was putting down bottles of scissor.
So luckily there have been strides by, grassroots type of stuff and on the state level to recreationalize something that really should have been that way from the start. It's just, I think all these agencies wanted to figure out a way to monetize it, and whether they do that through the pharmaceutical industry, making their own CBD, medications or drugs or options.
Yeah, definitely.
Or, and this is the really big one, agencies starting this whole on drugs. And whether you want to say that's, because of the, private prison system and wanting to drive this whole, money in that direction by arresting however many people in fucking prison right now for half an ounce of pot, which is fucking stupid. Or the whole war on drugs thing, the whole raising money for this, the whole, little cubby holes and shit like that that people have for money based on, well, it's for the war on drugs and all this other shit.
There you go.
Again, this is whole the whole tinfoil hat thing, but
I would say for closing comments, there's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to cannabis.
It's been demonized to a point that they
speaking of
in a position where you can consume and you don't know how to, really don't be stupid and just go buy something. Like actually ask, even though the tenants at the dispensaries look like
speaking of tinfoil hats,
those guys are smart.
Pothead,
they're chemists. They know what they're doing. Ask them questions.
It says I need to be done by 8 a.m.
Oh, it said that.
Oh, it does. Brian was. It's okay. I thought pot was legal. It's not what? Aha!
By the way, when Dre says black market, what he means is dude sold it to other dude and didn't pay taxes on it. Yeah, unfortunately, I think whereas during the last administration, the Obama administration, he or they publicly took a very hands-off kind of stance on the whole, recreational marijuana thing. But this administration, Jeff Sessions in particular, is kind of a douchebag about this, and yeah, you're doing it the right way by taking 5 minutes of extra time on the front end as to not spend time in jail because they're being dicks about it. Well, there's been yeah, and there's been a huge, campaign against hemp since way back in the early newspaper days, which is still bullshit because hemp gets this bad name because it's related to cannabis, but it's absolutely not. It's not psychoactive at all. There's no extra anything in it. All it is a freaking plant. It could revolutionize entire industries in this country, but it's become so demonized, and it puts such a threat to competition for the paper industry, for the cotton industry, for all these other industries that it's illegal. You can buy it from Canada and use it here, but it's illegal. Oh yeah. I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, the biodegradability of the plastics that it makes, it would. I mean, it's incredible what it would do, but it's so demonized and illegal that it'll never see the light of day.
Well, where's the fun in that? Yeah, right. That's right.
Well, and we were talking about that before he got on, about how personally I feel one of the reasons why this is not legal yet or federally legal is two parts, because the federal government can make money off the whole drug war, and the pharmaceutical industry hadn't yet figured out how to make money off of cannabinoids yet. Oh yeah, Colorado's the same way. Everywhere else in the country is saying we don't have enough money to pay our teachers. We don't have enough money to have, good schools. We don't have enough money to, make sure the education of our children is being taken care of. And Colorado just a week ago said, no, we got that covered. We're good. Yeah, literally, they took so much in taxes, they had this surplus, and they're like, what do we do with this? And they actually took a vote on it saying, what should we do with this? And the people are like, I don't know, yeah, sure, give me $7. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've run into with people also, is that they'll move to Colorado and be like, oh, I'm just going to grow pot. I'm like, I don't think so. But the people here are fucking scientists. They're not just weekend growers. And another one, what you were saying too, is I know another big thing that you were saying, getting into this industry, there's this other whole huge barrier to entry. There's a whole barrier to running the industry because it's still federally illegal. Most banks will not touch you. So you can't get a small business loan. You can't even, a lot of times, get a bank account to even do business with other people. It's this whole bullshit hamstring. Right. And actually, this is another thing too, is the cryptocurrency industry has actually taken this into account, and there's some specific cryptocurrencies actually narrowed on and specifically for just the cannabis industry itself, in order to let people work with each other and do all this other stuff.
Ooh, here we go back to cryptocurrency.
Look into it, motherfuckers.
There, Brian goes back on cryptocurrency. That was our podcast a couple weeks ago.
Calling your computer.
I know you guys think I'm not listening, but I am.
Kevin's watching his goats eat his truck.
No, there's actually a mouse in the trap. Oh, hey, speaking of
probably
real quick update, we think we're going to have baby goats here in the next week.
I don't think people realize the prolificness of farm animals.
Yes.
If you have a male farm animal and a female farm animal, you're going to have babies really fucking quick.
No. Well, no. She's actually I think she's. We were watching a bunch of videos on it yesterday, and I think she's getting ready to present and push. Yeah. No, they outlawed me from sheep, not goats.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should move to a different state then, because I'm pretty sure out here that's still okay.
Sorry, I digress. Anyway, go on. What? Well, Dre, Brian's been trying to get me to go to Colorado for about 25 years, even though we've only known each other.
Everyone said.
You know
how many Californians I have on my docket right now?
All right. Anyway.
Authorities find out how many Californians I have been involved in importing to this state, I'm going to go to jail.
Brian for mayor. Hey, Dre, welcome to California. Well, I tell you what, it depends on where you live. If you live in the big cities, actually, Fresno's pretty. Yeah, LA is not. You don't need to go there. That's funny. I seem to remember that's where we met. God. Whatever. You can't have them. That's why I wore them, just to say fuck you, Dre. All right. Anyway, so you guys, we probably have about 15 more minutes. So Dre, I know you guys have talked a little bit about the federally legal. What's the deal with kind of the laws of like? Are you familiar with the laws in California and the laws in Colorado and all that stuff? Let's start with the general person on the street. Let's say that somebody is looking to use cannabis. Okay, what are the things that they need to be aware of from a legal standpoint?
Can I bring up a different topic here?
Okay. So
I tried to go into this earlier, but I don't really know that much about what I'm talking about. So for people like me necessarily, or people whose only experience of marijuana is watching Dazed and Confused, obviously there's a lot more to that. There's like we talked about earlier, there's the taking marijuana for THC, and there's taking marijuana for more medicinal uses. Dre, can you kind of lay out the basics of kind of the differences in the plant, the differences in the uses and things like that? That's hitting Colorado the same way. We've actually seen since the legalization, there's been dips in alcohol consumption, which for the Napa Valley of microbreweries is kind of a big thing. So I know personally because I work for them. Oh yeah, I mean I work for Anheuser-Busch, so this is obviously a very big issue for them. I don't think they're hurting at all, but again, yeah, if you talk about a 1 or 2% decline, that's big money. Right. Right.
So the other question comes up then, Dre. This is something that Brian and I were talking about too. So since it's not federally legal, right? The state says it's legal. Now let's say that let's go from the general public person to, let's say, somebody who is in public service or who their job says that it's not okay. How does that work? Can they fire you? It's just a question. Right. So interestingly, well, that's something you brought up, something about inhaling vapors. It's funny. We since we've legalized marijuana here in California, the number of calls that we go on where marijuana is actually, I mean, it's in everybody's home now, and we go into people's homes all the time. And I can't tell you, I work in a district that's pretty busy now, and I would say that I'm exposed probably 50 to 60% of our calls. We are now exposed to cannabis and smoke. Okay, so Dre, we're approaching an hour. I think we kind of have to. I know I have to get going, and I don't know. I'm sure Brian's probably ready for a 25th cup of coffee. Um, I think what there's probably more to talk about with this stuff, and I think maybe if you weren't doing Nyquil at the rate of 25 gallons a minute. So, but I think what we should do is maybe continue this discussion because I think there's more to ask and I think there's more to talk about. And maybe we can do the first part of our podcast next time to continue our discussion and talk a little bit more about maybe coming from the business side of things and how things are going and kind of what the process is there, just so that people have an idea that there's more to it than just growing like you were talking about. So, but with that, I think closing comments, I think we started out with Star Wars and ended up getting high. I mean, talking about getting high. But I think there's more to know about cannabis than people realize. And I think that's one of the reasons why we brought it up. And I think it's one of the reasons that, again, it's one of those silly questions that I think people are embarrassed to ask is, I would like to do it the right way. How do I do it the right way? And I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk about it. Brian, do you have any closing comments?
And go see Star Wars. No, that's all.
Oh, we're going to jail. All right. Awesome. Right on, gentlemen. All right. We're going to press the little red button and end this episode. And